talking stress and anxiety, and recently just been touching on the topic of anchors. So probably the best way to think of an anchor is something that happens in your environment that triggers you, and you get the cascade of anxiety and or stress response. Obvious, but not everything does. Not everything triggers you, and your triggers for stress and anxiety will be different from everybody else's. You could fall into the same category. Could be relationships, could be employment, finances, whatever it is. But within that, your stress response will be tied to a specific anchor within it. And I put up a post on collapsing that negative anchor and replacing it with something more useful, more usable. And if you've looked at the stuff that I put up, there's a lot of shorts on breaking the pattern, just buying yourself a little bit of breathing space from your anchored response. And what we're doing is just messing with the pattern. So what we're going to do today is we're going to provide you with a positive anchor, which is along the theme I've covered a lot of times, which is when you're in full-blown stress, anxiety response, being told to calm down is bordering on rude, but in the nicest terms, just not very helpful. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is too big. So what we need to do is we need to take the time when we're not having a stress response, an anxiety response, and anchor something that is an alternative to it. So then as you notice the cascade, so if you take, for example, if you are anxious about public speaking and you know that you're going to have to go into a room and make a presentation, you could spot the cascade where thinking about the room, thinking when you're preparing the speech, looking at a delegate list, whatever it is, could be part of the cascade that takes you to your anchored response of stress, panic, anxiety. So we have anchors, and we can use them for good. We can implant them deliberately so that we get the response we want ahead of time. And then, as we've said many times, you can't hold two contradicting states at once. So you can't be zen calm and anxious. It just doesn't work. When you're anxious, you most likely have a physiological response. You're probably tense, either everywhere or somewhere specific. You probably have a different breathing pattern. You probably have a different heart rate pattern. So if you can break that grip on how you respond, then you can have a different pathway through what would otherwise be a stress or anxiety producing. Sorry, I'm smiling. My dog's going nuts in the background. He is not a hunting dog, but there's remnants of his instinct. His anchor, there you go. His anchor is the smell of a pheasant. And bless him, as we walked onto this field, there was a pheasant who went, oh, well, I better get out of here. And Doggo's just going, something was here before. So he's anchored to respond incredibly actively to that scent. So there's a nice physiological anchor that you can have. So what we're going to do today is we are going to establish a calm anchor. And we're going to use something, and you'll have to pick something for yourself. We're going to pick something that we can fire when we need to, hopefully ahead of time. It would need to be an incredibly strong anchor, one that's really well established, and we'll get into how we're going to do that, for you to be in a panic stress response and to be able to fire an anchor that is enough to change the direction of that. So this is going to be a useful thing for us to have before, when we know we might be going into a stress, anxiety. And once you understand anchors, they're in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is a concept that was created by Rich Bandler and John Grinder quite a while ago, back in the 70s, I think. Incredibly effective. So we're going to be borrowing their technique of the anchor to set yourself up a calm anchor. What's quite nice is if you could have something discreet but easy to pull off, and it could just be touching your finger and thumb together. And if you do that already as part of your life, then we'll set up something that's unique, and it could just be as simple as a different finger thumb combination. It could be reaching across and just gently squeezing the wrist of your opposite hand, so that you could kind of do that without drawing too much attention to yourself, depending on what the situation is. So choose your anchor. So it could just be that, could be thumb and little finger are going to come together, and I'll tell you when we need to do that. The technique is we're going to set up the state, the calm, relaxed state that we want. Then we're going to fire the anchor, hold it for about 10 seconds while we establish it. Then what I'm going to get you to do is to break state, which is to go somewhere else, stop and literally smell the coffee, and then you're going to do 2 more versions of it yourself. Having done that today, I would suggest that you do at least 2 versions of setting it up today, and then keep doing a setup every day for a week. And then you'll have a really strong anchor that you can use when and as you need. It's incredibly powerful, but it does need to be embedded, and it needs to be done in a way that doesn't yet go against something else that's going on. So if you imagine that squeezing those fingers together is what you used to do as part of a sports routine, you're going to get an overlap where that sports routine is going to come back in, and that's going to get confusing, which is why we want to choose something that's pretty unique. You probably want to get yourself in as undistracted, if that's a word, a state as possible, so that you can work on focusing on all of the calmness. And I'm going to help guide you through that. But you definitely need to embed it, and that's going to take a little bit of time and space. So if you're having a stressy day, maybe put this off for another one when you've got that foothold on calm to start with. So once you've chosen what your anchor is going to be, remember we're going to squeeze and hold for about 10 seconds when I say to fire your anchor. Excuse me. So choose that, and when we're ready, so pause if you need to. When we're ready, we're going to do a setup on this. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Focus on breathing out. Focus on just clearing out. Your body will naturally refill, so we don't need to worry about that. It's just a case of breathing out and noticing the relaxation that comes with it. If there's anywhere that you're feeling tension at the moment, just focus on that and let it go. A nice way to do that is to just gently clench an area. So if you imagine you have stress in your shoulders, just gently clench them and then consciously let it go. So maybe do that 3 times, clench and relax. Good. To reduce the amount of input we're getting, if you can, if it's safe to, close your eyes. You don't need to, but if it's safe to, you can close your eyes. And imagine yourself in a place that is the most relaxing place that you can think of. It may be with calm, supported people, or it may be alone. In the background you can hear that I've got birds going, so there may be a space where there's something that's calming. Perhaps it's the sound of water, perhaps it's the sounds of nature, perhaps it's your favorite relaxing music. And just imagine that that's happening as well. And notice the relaxation that starts to spread. And what I'm going to get you to focus in on is if that sense of deep calm and relaxation had a center within you, where would that center be? And as you think of that center within you of calm, relaxation, and all those feelings and ideas that go with it, if that center had a shape, what shape is it? Is it two-dimensional? Is it three-dimensional? Are the edges strong, defined, or are they soft? As you think of that center of calm and relaxation that's within you, is there any movement? Does it shimmer? Or is it still? Does it pulse? Or is it just fixed in one place? And as you notice that, I want you to do a gentle experiment and notice what happens if you make that space bigger or smaller. Almost definitely changing that shape will provide a greater sense of calm or less. And we want to provide the greatest sense of calm that we can. So do that to that shape. Add in a bigger shape, smaller shape, whichever is working best for you. If it's got movement, what happens if you increase the movement or decrease it? What happens if you increase the size or decrease it? I want you to max out the sense of relaxation that you get by changing those variables. And when it's as strong as it can possibly be, I want you to spread that color, the color of relaxation that comes with that shape, all the way out through your body. Top of your head, down to the tips of your toes, down your neck and shoulders, all the way down your arms to the tips of your fingers. Just notice it. And bring that sense of calm and relaxation stronger and stronger and more pronounced. And bring it up, stronger, stronger. Notice everywhere it's going and fill in anywhere that it's not reached yet. When it's as strong as it can be, when it's a 10 out of 10 for calm and relaxation, I want you to fire that anchor and hold it for 10 seconds. So do that now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Notice the relaxation. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Now come back to me. If you had your eyes closed, open your eyes, have a look around the room, spot something, come back into the present, come back into the now. And then what I'm going to get you to do in your own time is just repeat that procedure. What you'll find is it's really significantly easier to go back into that state of calm and relaxation because you've just rehearsed it. You can notice I picked up the pace of my speaking because I want you to be a little bit more present, and then we're going to re-establish that anchor. Exactly the same place, exactly the same procedure, but you'll probably be able to shortcut it a little bit because it's familiar. The shape, the color, spreading it out to the extremes of your body will probably become more natural because you're going to do this 3 times in total. When you've done it 3 times in total, what I want you to do, just take a bit of a moment to go and do something slightly different. Like literally smell the coffee. If you've got a coffee, take a sip of the coffee. Savor it, which you should be doing anyway because it's coffee or tea or your drink of choice. Make some wise decisions there. Stay focused. I'm sorry. Lost my train of thought. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go into that break state, take a moment, take a few deep breaths and calm, and then fire your anchor. And what I want you to do is I want you to notice whether it's the thoughts of calmness or the feeling of calmness that comes first. So that's going to be, once you've established it 3 times, you're going to break state and then you're just going to fire it and notice what happens, okay? Do that twice today and then once every day for the rest of the week. But what you'll probably find is towards the end of the week, it's incredibly effective. If you are in the middle of your day and you find yourself in an incredibly calm, relaxed state or place, or with a person that's incredibly calming and relaxing. Perhaps it's music, or you're watching something or reading something, thinking about something, and it just makes you feel calm. Just add that in. So stack it, they call it. Stack it on top of the anchor that you've already established. And you can do this from here on in. And the more you do it, the more you'll benefit, and the stronger that anchor will become. And then what that allows you to do is to start using the calm anchor at a time when you can just feel an inkling of the cascade towards stress and anxiety. And it just breaks that pattern, breaks the state. And the more you do that, the more powerful it will be. And then the more powerful it is, the more effective it will be for bigger and bigger challenges. So it's not an amazing shield that you can pop up. I see my dog disappearing into the distance. It's not an amazing shield that you can pop up in a massive moment of stress until you've got really strong with it and really anchored with it and layered it over. Have a go. If you want, let me know. Let me know how it's gone, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. And maybe we can just tweak it. I'm sure if you have a question, other people will have exactly the same question. And like I say, it's an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming technique, called establishing an anchor or anchoring. So that information is available to you as well. Have some fun with it.